But let's pause for a moment and reflect on a very important and always fun week here in Washington, D.C., as you're going to see a whole lot of police officers wearing their uniforms and being a part of comings and goings in Washington at all of the memorials and events. It is Police Week. So let's check in with our friend Billy Alexander. He's the president of the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund. Bill, thanks for joining us, and happy Police Week.
Larry, Julie, thank you. Thank you so much for allowing me to come on and helping to, in part, tell the story of American law enforcement and also remind the nation of their service and sacrifice.
Thank you. Well, give us an overview of Police Week and sort of the origins of it. And it seems like every year it's bigger and bigger, which is nice considering, the stain of the anti-police movement we saw for several years there. The people still support law enforcement, and that's why this event is so important.
Yeah, so the history is really quite unique. In the late 70s, the Fraternal Order Police began holding almost informal gatherings on the steps of the Capitol to honor and remember the men and women who had died in the line of duty. And over the years, that has continued to grow really exponentially year over year. Most notably, a National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial was created and then dedicated in 1991. And then we also host on the National Mall every single year a candlelight vigil, where we read aloud the names of the men and women whose names were most recently added to that very sacred memorial right here in the heart of Washington, D.C. in Judiciary Square. So that really has catalyzed over many, many years the strong presence and power of gathering together in our nation's capital, which I think is the appropriate place. And literally tens of thousands of police officers, not just around the country, but even around the world, come to Washington, D.C. to congregate, to gather, to some degree grieve, but also to celebrate, to memorialize and honor all of the men and women, not just the last calendar year who have died in the line of duty, but all of them, the 24,412 who to date have died in the line of duty.
Wow.
I feel like law enforcement has been through so much in this country with the popularity of the defund the police movement, with getting SROs out of schools, and just the smearing of law enforcement over the last several years. That seems to have turned around a bit. Why is it so important for your organization to educate people on the importance of law enforcement and how they save lives and make communities safer?
Well, it sounds like the three of us are in absolute agreement that police officers have been and really continue to be an essential ingredient in keeping our community safe and also preserving and protecting our democracy. So I think the vast, vast majority of the public agrees with sort of that broad sentiment. And for whatever degree, certainly over the last 5 years, I would say there has been a sentiment certainly expressed across, say, mainstream media, social media, and maybe even from a worrying degree too many of our elected officials. And we here at the Memorial Fund have, to some small degree, I think, helped play a part in reminding the nation of what law enforcement has done and does do to keep us and our families safe every single day. And like you, I do think the tide is turning, but I think we all have a part to play, and all should be mindful of the service and sacrifice of these men and women who historically die in the hundreds every single year protecting us.
We're speaking with Bill Alexander. He's the president of the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund. And by the way, I love the fact that you're not government funded. I mean, I think if we're going to fund something, we should fund something like this. But you rely completely on private donations and organizations' donations. So if people care deeply about this, they can help and donate as well. Is that right?
Yeah, Larry, that's absolutely right. We, since our inception in 1984, have existed entirely on donations. We are a nonprofit, a 501c3. So anyone out there who any part of this message resonates with them or you, I can't encourage you enough to come, go to our website, nleomf.org, and consider supporting us in a small way. I promise you the dollars that folks donate to us go a long, long way towards allowing us to honor these fallen heroes.
Can I just follow up real fast? You had mentioned the candlelight vigil. That's May 13th. Can everybody participate in this? And tell me about, it sounds like it's heart-wrenching, any candlelight vigil is, but when I've talked to people who I've known people who have had to participate in candlelight vigils because they've lost a loved one for various reasons. There's something incredibly healing about it, actually, as tragic as it seems, and as sad and reflective, and but that sense of community that's sort of built with a bunch of strangers, it really does make a difference in people's lives, I think.
Oh, Larry, you're absolutely right. You said it beautifully. I have been to so many candlelight vigils over the last 20 plus years. I retired from law enforcement myself almost 4 years ago, and I know 16 men who have died in the line of duty and whose names are on our sacred memorial. The candlelight vigil, it's almost impossible to put into words how emotionally impactful the ceremony is. But it's more than just sorrow and grief. It's also a celebration of those very same men and women who made, I might argue, purposeful and conscious decisions to put themselves in harm's way. So, to a very big degree, it's helping to celebrate their lives. But you're absolutely right. You can feel, I mean, really feel the emotion in the air during this ceremony every single year. And I am convinced absolutely that it is a part of the healing process, that there is some catharsis there. Not that families leave there healed per se, but I'm convinced that it's an absolutely essential part of that healing process.
Well, that's May 13th. There's a lot going on this week, Police Week. To get the information, it's policeweek.org. That's where the schedule will be, policeweek.org. And if you want to continue to support what Bill is doing at the National Law Enforcement Officer Memorial Fund, it's NLEOMF.org. We'll tweet that out as well. Bill, thanks, and have a great week.
Bill, Julie, thank you so much for helping to tell this story. I'm beyond appreciative. Thank you.